Hi, Alan Stratton from Woodturning. I've been meaning to turn a goblet for a long time. I always look to Mike Walt as being the goblet master, but then there was a goblet at the recent AAW online symposium by Rudy, and I said, well, now I've run out of excuses. I gotta turn one. But I'm not going to replicate his process because I have different tools, different habits, and I'm going to turn it differently. But they gave me the inspiration. But I have this very unique wood, this shaggy bark birch that's from a tree in my yard that didn't leaf out this spring. And key to making this is to support the bowl after it's been turned, and I have a threaded wood faceplate that fits on my revolving tailstock adapter here that suffices that, plus my steady rest to support it before that. So different tools, different processes. I think I got a good result. I'd like to know your alternatives to turning one of these small natural bark edged goblets. This wood is a branch from a shaggy bark birch tree that failed to leaf out this spring. At first I discarded the wood due to its size. Then I rescued some of the wood to try to take advantage of the unique bark. The wood is mounted between centers, deliberately avoiding placing the centers on the pith. The only work I want to do now is to cut a tenon for a chuck mount. But, as it turns out, I cut the tenon just a trifle too small. While I thought it was secure, it was not. I had to remount it between centers and cut the tenon a little smaller to fit a smaller chuck. Now to turn for real. I noticed there are several drying checks on this end and decide to part off a section to get rid of them. I use my parting tool followed by a spindle gouge to clean up the end. I do not like to hollow the end of a long piece without support. I want to preserve the natural bark. So instead of rounding the entire spindle, I am rounding only a small fraction, only wide enough to accommodate my steady rest. The steady rest will help resist the lateral pressure while hollowing the goblet at the end of the spindle. Mine cost less than $15 using salvaged skateboard wheels and some Baltic birch plywood. Now that the wood is well supported, I can hollow the goblet. I am only using my freshly sharpened spindle gouge. The cut is mostly from the center outward with the gouge nearly closed. This lateral pressure is resisted by the steady rest. I remove the last center nub with a round nose scraper, then thoroughly sand the hollow. I am not applying finish yet. First order of business is to measure the depth of the bowl portion. A funnel goblet just does not cut it. I have removed the steady rest since I want to work on the stem next and I need the working room. Instead, I have shaped a threaded wood faceplate to fit the bowl that mounts on a threaded live center. This will support the goblet while I shape the bowl portion and work down the stem. I have to be careful to control my spindle gouge to cut cleanly through the bark and down into the wood. My paranoia forces me to stop and check the wall thickness as I sneak up on the bowl shape. I have relieved some of the neck wood for working room, but I want to complete the bowl portion before working down the stem. Now I can start working down the stem. I only want to work a little at a time. Once I have a section down to about 1/8 inch size, I can move on to the next section.
but I never go back out very much. The wood is way too thin. I do cut the stem around down in advance of the final working area, but always leave room enough for a good support. Then come back to finalize it as I work down the stem. Although I started with a spindle gouge, I also like my skew for this thin work. It seems I can get it smoother from the skew than from a gouge. Your mileage may vary. Finally, transition to the base, cutting a short bead before an ogee curve on the top surface. The underside is a different story. Since the wood is still wet, I need to hollow out from the underside to allow it to shrink. I'm doing my best with a spindle gouge at a very awkward angle. After sanding, I finished parting off the goblet with a skew, deliberately leaving a large nub on the inside. I did not want to get a catch and destroy the goblet. I'll get rid of the nub another way. I'm using a round rasp in my carving tool. First, I remove the nub. Then, feeling the thickness of the base, I think removing a little more wood will help prevent a crack. So, I continue relieving more wood from the underside. Dust protection is a requirement. Then hand sand the underside before sanding it. A bath in walnut oil completes my goblet. Although the wood is still not dry, I do not expect it and the stem to warp very much. The standing dead tree does not have a lot of free water, so here's my goblet, my way, leveraging the unique shaggy bark and the softer, not yet dry wood. It is a cute little goblet, thin stem, and a conversation project. Thank you, Mike and Rudy, for the inspiration, but I turned it my way. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, and tell your friends. I appreciate your comments and questions. Every week, I make a new woodturning video and add it to my website. As usual, I appeal for you to wear your full face shield anytime the lathe is running. I'll see you next week with another woodturning video.